Dear participants, we are going to start our event in 5 minutes. Dear participants of our online event, please choose your preferred language channel, English or Ukrainian. Dear participants, come to our room. We will start our discussion in a few minutes. And dear participants, on behalf of the Helvetas team, we are happy to welcome you at our presentation and discussion, Empowering Women in Ukraine's Workforce, Challenges and Solutions. My name is Anastasia Baklan. I'm Helvetas Project and Partnership Manager, and I will be moderating the discussion today. So this event is organized within the project on the recovery of affected communities in Ukraine, funded by the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, Germany, and implemented by Helvetas in cooperation with JERU. And we would like to share our presentation on the barriers to women in terms of their economic empowerment and to show best practices and progress implemented in Ukraine in this area. And also give you a platform to cooperate and share experience. So today we have representatives of the government. So we have the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Social Policy of Ukraine. Thank you for joining our discussion. And also we have representatives of international organizations, business associations, and NGOs actively working on those issues. So please be active in our today's discussion. And we have online participants also. We have online broadcasting. Please, you can leave your comments and questions in the chat. And we would like to discuss our safety rules based on our standard operating procedure. So if we have air raid alarms, so we have two levels. So the first level is if there is this mega aircraft training. In this case, we have our security officer tracking the situation and giving us updates. And level 2, if we have drones, missiles, ballistic missiles, and if there is a threat that they are going to attack our city, then we will have to go to the shelter. Please follow our staff members. If the air raid alert lasts for more than 20 minutes, then we will have to switch to the online format, and we will inform you on the date of our event. And today we have simultaneous interpretation into English. So I have to request to you. So when you talk to the audience, please turn the microphone on so that the interpreters and people in Zoom can hear you, and also try not to speak too fast. And we plan to have 2 hours of our work discussion, and then we will have networking and informal communication. And I would like to add that it is very good to talk about empowering women in a gender balanced audience. So it is good that we have men also participating in our discussion today, because only together we can have changes in our country. And I would like to give the floor to Piotr Bashe, Helvetas Ukraine Country Director. Good morning. Thank you so much, Peter, Thomas, and Celestine, for joining our discussion. We can feel your support on our way. And I will ask our tech support team to turn the presentation of our research on. So, why we wanted to have this meeting is to present our analysis to talk about transformation of the labor market of Ukraine. And then we also look at the economic empowerment of women. So this topic is particularly relevant because of the full-scale invasion, because many men are in the army, and women, they take on new roles that were not typical before the war, or stereotypically they were not acceptable for women before the war. But now the situation is changing. However, there are some obstacles for women in the labor market. And before we start talking about the study, I would like to talk about Helvetas a little bit. So we have experience of cooperation with some of us, but also I can see some new people. So we are Subias, a non-governmental organization. See, their organization was founded in 1955, and it was one of the first organizations which started working on humanitarian response and humanitarian aid, and also economic development, a stable development. So we now implement projects in almost 40 countries of the world, in Asia, Latin America, Africa, and Eastern Europe. Those programs cover different areas, such as covering basic needs of people, access to water and food, and also training and professional training and income generation. We are represented in Eastern Europe, so in such countries as Moldova, Georgia, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Oh, and we implement the big program called Reconomy. My colleague Natalia will talk about it a bit later. And it is aimed at inclusion of women and young people and their integration in the labor market. If we talk about Ukraine, before the full-scale invasion, we worked mostly through partner organizations, and then we opened the offices in Kiev and Kharkiv because we work a lot at the areas close to the front line. So we have two main areas of work, recovery and reconstruction. So here we focus on the infrastructure, shelters, and residential buildings. And the second area of activities is economic development. Here we focus on the development of the labor market, professional training, and support of business. And so what Helvetas did in Ukraine, we presented last year our analysis on the labor market, and we continue the study. We plan to do it on a regular basis, and the study that we are going to present today will be focusing on a separate topic, and we wanted to look at the problems faced by women. So our task was to look at the barriers faced by women, such as lack of some infrastructure, related to childcare. So sometimes women say that they have no one to take care of their children. That is why they are not able to work. Also, there can be certain stereotypes and perceptions that, for example, women should be in the kitchen and should work at home. So we analyzed the legal framework. We looked at the trends that are relevant today. We had interviews and did other interventions. So our target groups in this study were women with small children from 3 to 10 years of age. So they need a lot of attention of their mothers to take care of them. Also, women of retirement and pre-retirement age who can be potentially integrated in the labor market, and also women who take care of their relatives with low mobility. So we wanted to look at the potential that is not currently used in terms of the labor force, workforce. As for the methods of our studies, so we had a desk review. As I said, we looked at the laws and the statistics. Also, we had an online survey covering 716 persons. Also, we have had structured interviews with the women with small children, focus groups with all three target groups, and 5 in-depth studies with experts. So this study cannot be considered representative, but it shows the main trends and it allows us to come up with the key recommendations. So I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Irina Demchenko, who is the director of Analytical Center Socia Consulting, who were our partners in this study. Thank you, Anastasia. So I would like to add about the methodology. This is a qualitative social study. It is a comprehensive one. We are not saying that we can present accurate statistic data, but we also looked at the last year study on economic activity of households, and all the data give us an opportunity to do a statistical analysis. So I will also present the quantitative component of the study, and we can say that the results are quite reliable based on its methodology. So what are the key trends that we saw on the labor market? The key trend that we see in the labor market is a reduction in the workforce due to the demographic trends as well as the consequences of this full-scale invasion. For several decades in Ukraine, the number of population was going down due to the high death rate, the low birth rate, and migration. And of course, the war, the Russian aggression has an unprecedented impact. If we talk about women, we see the impact of migration and also a continuing decline in the birth rate. The number of people 1 year ago was about 31 million. In Ukraine, it is 40% less than we had when Ukraine became independent in 1991, and 25% fewer than we had before the full-scale invasion of Russia. And it is clear that those key trends led to the shortage of workforce. And all employers feel this shortage today. And we can see the impact on the key economic indicators. And due to these reasons, there is a lower number of people who are economically active. So we are talking about people who are employed or people who are ready to work, who are looking for jobs, who are ready to start a job. So people who are unemployed but looking for a job. And this is the workforce and potential workforce that we're looking at. So today the number of those people went down a lot, but gender analysis shows that we see a bigger reduction of employment rates among women. So you can see on this slide that before the start of the full-scale invasion, every second woman of the employment age from 15 to 70 years old. So every second woman had a job. And 1 year ago, we looked at the national level and we saw that we had 42% of women who were employed. So we see a reduction among women.
However, the level of unemployment reduced a lot. We know that there are a lot of vacancies now. There is a deficit of workforce, but the number of women who are unemployed, that is, who don't work but are looking for a job, has remained at almost the same level as before the war, which is different from men. There are twice as few men who are currently unemployed, and the number of employed men has remained almost the same. Among the entire workforce, women currently constitute 45%, and our analysis shows that today there are quite a few women overall the population of Ukraine, including women, who could be potentially involved in the labor market. Primarily, it is women and people from rural areas. In order to engage rural population more actively in the workforce, we need serious investment and measures because this requires structuring the economy, decentralizing large enterprises and other efforts. But among women who are currently unemployed from the ages of 15 to 70, 30% are women who are not retired, who are not students, but rather work on their family and household duties. That is almost a third of economically inactive women are women who could become potential work reserve for the labor market. Our research that we held online among women of ages 18 to 59, so a slightly more limited age group compared to the previous methodology. So we only surveyed adult women who are not retirees under the Ukrainian law. This survey also shows that quite a few women don't work due to various circumstances connected with the performance of caregiving work and family duties. We marked these responses in yellow on this slide. When women were asked why they aren't employed, and this was a question asked only of women who are not employed currently, we see that quite often there is a combination of reasons. But caregiving work, they need to take care of children or taking care of sick relatives. Those are quite common reasons why our women are not employed, women who are of employable age. Why is it important to engage these categories of women in paid employment? In addition to overcoming imbalance on the labor market, would contribute to their social protection, because currently they are facing aggravated risks of becoming part of the poor population and have outstanding needs for social support. In addition, unemployed women don't pay contributions to the pension fund, which means they risk receiving no pension or minimal pension only. So this is not only about enriching the job market, closing the gap in the labor market, but it is also about the social protection of women who can and would like to work. we considered an important issue. Do these women who are currently not working, who are not self-employed but are capable of working, do they want to work? Maybe they would like to remain in their situation with their family duties. No, according to our research, all the main vulnerable categories of women that we looked at, namely women who have children of ages 3 to 10, so that's already after the maternity leave, and these women are supposed to rejoin the labor market, or women who take care of elderly relatives, other relatives, or women who are in the older group, 45 plus. So most women we talked to did want to work. And there are quite a few reasons why. They are not just economic factors. For example, for young mothers, a big factor is that they would like to develop personally, to communicate with people outside of their apartment or house, to be independent, to stay in line with their profession. So this is just part of the factors that encourage women to rejoin the labor market. Since we didn't have a separate survey of women who take care of elderly relatives, because it's quite a closed group, it was a bit difficult to carry out a quantitative survey here. We communicated with them in the focus group format, but a lot of these women did confirm that they really want to be employed, but they have to leave their work because they have to take care of their husband or their elderly relatives or other loved ones. So we see that they are indeed quite interested in at least part-time employment. A special subject is women who are approaching the age of retirement. They are very active. They would like to work, but we had quite a few responses about ageism that they have encountered while looking for employment or looking for an opportunity to fulfill themselves as business people. Unfortunately, that situation does exist. And the problem here is that women who already have a lot of experience with employment, it's very hard for them to reorient themselves for self-employment or business activities. We cannot count that if a woman cannot find a job today, that every woman like that will find a path towards self-employment or entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, it's not everyone who can switch to this type of employment. This is important to take into account. When it comes to barriers, as Anastasia aptly put it, for every target group, we have general but also specific barriers that they encounter when it comes to employment and the labor market. For example, today, just as many previous gender-focused studies showed, there is a significant gender imbalance in caregiving work. Looking at the target group mothers of young children, we see their responses. Over 80%, 89% of women who currently have children of ages 3 to 10 and who aren't employed, who don't have a regular employment, they either carry out all caregiving work or most caregiving work. If we speak about other household chores like cleaning, cooking, and so on, there is a major imbalance here as well. 85% of women either perform all work or they carry out most of these household chores. We had very few women in this survey who are single mothers. Most of our respondents do have husbands who live with them. Because at first we could say, well, their husbands were drafted into the military, so that's why they have to perform that. No, a lot of the respondents do have husbands who live with them, and this imbalance persists, however. Even when women are employed, they usually have the double workload, while among unemployed moms, 93% do all or most caregiving work for their children, and 90% carry out most or all household chores. The tendencies are very similar among employed moms. For example, among employed moms, 79% perform all or most duties on child rearing, and 74% carry out most or all other household chores. Unfortunately, this is a fact, and it is quite a serious issue, and quite a serious barrier that prevents women from looking for full-time employment or regular employment. This gender imbalance in the sector of caregiving work is confirmed by our focus group participants who are taking care of older relatives. I will not read out everything, but we had multiple respondents who shared their life stories. We can write a whole separate book. How, due to kindness, due to certain stereotypes, they stay at home, they take care of their relatives, parents-in-law, grandparents, and so on. And a lot of women consider this unacceptable for them psychologically to abandon, as they see it, a relative who requires round-the-clock care. For instance, providing them with a nursing home or other boarding facility. So women prefer to do this anyway. And this is not just stereotypes. There is sort of an agreement among other family members. Today, we can say that there's quite a big demand of women who have children to have different social services provided, which could create conditions for them to work or at least reduce their workload. We also analyzed whether these women are ready to pay for these services, at least partially. And it turns out that, yes, a lot of women are interested not only in free social services that are available or could be available today. Up to a third of women are ready to pay for children's rooms where they could leave their child for an hour or a few hours. Some holidays are a big subject. When you don't take your child to school, you need to find something for the child to do, because if a woman is employed, the maximum vacation that she has is a month, and the summer holidays is 3 months. And this is a challenge not only for Ukrainian women. When I talk to people from European countries, they do face the same problem. Like, what can they offer to children during summer holidays? And this is actually a big problem that needs to be resolved so that women could work. You can learn such data, statistical, sociological data, in our report, but I would like to add something about other barriers to employment. For instance, for moms of young children. Today, in a lot of areas close to the front line, schools and even kindergartens, this was as of August and September last year, worked online or in the hybrid mode. Thus, there is a need to look after children of school and preschool ages. There are quite common situations when a child cannot visit the child caring facility for a long time, and there are no available facilities for children who have special needs. Many educational establishments now have either no opportunity to leave children in until the end of the full work day. Or this is only available at the certificate that both parents are employed full-time. But there is a paradox here, because in order for the mother to find that full-time employment, she needs to have the child taken care of. So after kindergarten, this is a new barrier, new challenge for parents, because they do need more opportunity to work. We also looked at barriers for employment of women who take care of older family members. Because there is a very restricted opportunity to provide other forms of care to adult people who need full-time care. People need to have official disability registered to have such services provided. Also, our women and men in families that have such people don't have enough information about the services that they could be eligible to receive. In many cases, the cost of child rearing services, I'm speaking about the market prices, or taking care of adults who are in need of care, they are higher than the minimum salary, and in some cities it is higher than the average pay in the city or in the country. So in such situations, women tend to give up paid employment. It is women, not men, which is due to objective reasons, which is that women often have lower salaries and worse career prospects at the beginning of their activity than compared to men, and subjective factors such as stereotypes that caregiving work is women's work and the role of a mom is a priority role for a woman. And it is not entirely possible to combine with professional activities, especially when the child is young. In our report, we have also analyzed other gender stereotypes and barriers, such as information barriers and social protection system barriers, since all of these also affect the situation on the labor market. But let me point out that this group that we have analyzed is quite a large group among economically inactive women who could and should be involved in the labor market.
And even when women have several children and when they spend a lot of time taking care of them, still those women, they wanted to have some part-time jobs or some flexible employment. So I wanted to show you this slide. And I want international organizations and employers to have a look at this slide. So the desired 4 months of employment for unemployed women with small children. Because these women, if they are not able to find official employment, they start to look for jobs in the like non-official sector, shadow sector, because they want to be employed or sometimes they need to have an additional source of income. So if there were some official jobs, vacancies with like flexible working hours or like part-time jobs, if they were offered to such women, it would be great because it would allow us to engage those women. Thank you. Thank you, Irina. And I would like to continue talking about the barriers for women of pre-retirement and retirement age. So there is this problem of ageism that was mentioned by my colleague. So employers, they do not want to invest resources to integrate people of pre-retirement and retirement age. Of course, there are such barriers as structural changes in the economy. So some professions they are not needed anymore, and people are not willing to retrain. So also, sometimes there is a lack of digital competencies and skills among people of this age. Also, there are health problems, and some people are afraid to lose social benefits if they get official jobs. And like there is this factor that employers do not want to invest resources and integrate those women of pre-retirement and retirement age. But also there is this self-ageism when women, they do not consider that they have some skills or they can get some new skills and they still can be beneficial for the economy. So we need to adapt our messages to those women. And those are our key recommendations to different types of stakeholders. So general recommendations, we think that it is important to create conditions for women to combine employment and their family duties. We need to support women when they are pregnant, when they take care of their children or relatives with low mobility. It is important to create and scale up some additional opportunities for training and so that women can acquire some skills. And also it is important to create the equal conditions on the labor market to bridge this gender gap which still exists. And of course, it is important to redistribute duties in the family, in the household. So our first stakeholder is the government. So there are some legislative changes which are needed to make accessible social services for all people. So now social services and caretaking services are available, but only to people in difficult life circumstances. So there are strict restrictions. And it is important to change this criteria so that more women can use these services. Also, it is important to change the system of social support to motivate people to look for jobs. For example, during the study, we saw that people are looking at the opportunities offered by the Employment Service of Ukraine. The Employment Service is our good partner, and they offer a lot of options. They help people to find the jobs. So it is important to change the perception of the Employment Service among people, because still many people from vulnerable populations, and we are talking not only about women, but also about internally displaced people, for example, and other categories, they do not want to get an official job because they do not want to lose some social benefits that they are receiving from the state. So what we recommend to do is to implement some kind of transition period if a person finds a job, so that they would not lose their benefits right away. So within this transition period, for them to be able to still receive benefits till they adapt at their new job place. Also, it is important to abolish age restrictions for people who can get vouchers for professional training, because now there are vouchers for women who want to be trained as truck drivers, but these vouchers can they have this age restriction of 45 years. We suggest to change these restrictions. So if people under 45, like when they are 30, for example, if a woman wants to be trained as a truck driver, it is important that they have this opportunity. And it is important to have access to some financial tools, so to have like loans, grants, and additional support. And the role of the government is not just about changes in the legal framework, but also in sharing information with people. So the government should work with the employers, with potential employees, with relatives of people with low mobility, to change stereotypes and to explain what services are available. So the next stakeholder is local authorities. And here we think it is important to work with educational facilities, including kindergartens, and also like the second component here is social services. So as Irina said, women, they sometimes are not able to leave their child at home because there is no one to take care of her child. And if she works in a government sphere, so she has to be at work till 6 p.m. But kindergarten is available only till 5 p.m. Then children cannot stay longer. So our recommendation is to have longer working hours for kindergartens, so that more women could be engaged in economic activities, because their children can stay longer in kindergartens. Maybe they will have to pay like not big sums of money for it. And especially in areas close to the front line, some kindergartens work in online format. But such online format does not facilitate the integration of women in the workforce, because women have to stay with their children at home. And uh, also, if the kindergarten is working, but it operates in this online format, women are not able to apply for the municipal nanny service. So those are basic recommendations for local authorities. And for more detail, please check the results of our study. Also, we have recommendations for the employers. The first thing mentioned by Irina is that it is important to implement some more flexible formats of employment, part-time job, remote work, or flexible working hours. This is what private sector employers also can do. Also, it is important to implement or scale up requalification or advanced training programs for women. And we talked with the Federation of Employers of Ukraine, asking if employers could create some kind of infrastructure for taking care of children. And our conclusion was that there are too many official requirements for childcare facilities, so it is too complicated. But what could be done is to have some child care areas or zones in the big co-workings when several enterprises could come together and create this simplified infrastructure to take care of children. They could hire some people who could take care of their female employers' children. And also, it was important to implement non-discriminatory HR policies and practices because sometimes, for example, restaurants, they are looking for waiters, males up to 30 years of age. Uh, so we encourage employers not to discriminate people by age or gender and to engage women. And we have recommendations for the international organizations. We know that there is a big focus on these issues that we are discussing. We see that today we have some international organizations present. We see their interest, and there are some programs which are already implemented. So we have ILO here present, UNICEF, GIZ, and other colleagues and partners who registered to participate in our event. So we analyzed the available programs, and we want to say that it is important to strengthen and scale them up, focusing on innovations, IT, computer literacy. Also, women are often interested in the beauty industry and uh, even such skills as preparing a CV. That is important because to find a job, a person should have a CV to present their education, their skills, their professional background. That is all important. Also, when we talked with our respondents, there was a woman from Odessa, and she said that, I know that there are some opportunities offered by international organizations and government on like some training courses, but she said, honestly, I do not understand the Ukrainian language well, but all training is available in Ukrainian. So maybe it would be good to offer opportunities to learn Ukrainian for those women who do not know Ukrainian at a good level. So now I would like to start our discussion. If you have any questions or comments from the room, please, now is the time. And for our participants, offline and online, we wanted to say that there is this QR code that you can use to check the full report on the results of our study. And after the event, we will share all the materials with you. These will be slides from our speakers and also the research study report in Ukrainian and in English. Olena, please. See, I will, of course, have something to say. Olena Kolesnikov, Federation of Employers of Ukraine and Federation of Metallurgy Enterprises of Ukraine. I like 2 points about stereotypes and motivation. Stereotypes start with the person themselves. And our experience of working with women is that the stereotypes sit inside women because women sometimes say that they do not know what is going on around them. When we go to some educational institutions, talk to students, we ask them if they know local companies. And students often say no. So if they do not know when they are like in college, so that is not a good thing. And when for example, the woman gets her maternity leave, of course she doesn't know about potential employers. And many employers, they offer free training courses for those people who want to get jobs there. Do people come to get this training? No, we cannot find people who are interested. If we talk about ageism, trust me, all employers just forgot about ageism at the start of the full-scale invasion. So they are not looking at women, men, or age. If a person can do something, you can get a job. Nobody will ask you for a diploma, for some certificates, nothing. But there is a problem, of course. It's not the same in all regions. Many companies are relocated, and people sometimes they do not know about new employers present in this region. So there is a problem of awareness, and we have requests from companies which were relocated. They ask us, where can we find people, where can we find employees? But when we talk to people in this new region, they don't want to work in these new relocated companies, and their former employees, they don't want to relocate. That is the problem. So we also work with the employment center a lot. And when we ask people if they are ready to move to get a job, they say that they are not ready to move. And that is a problem because in many countries it is okay for people to relocate to get a job. In many countries it is okay to change your place of residence, to live closer to a good school, a good kindergarten, a good enterprise. So those are all about some stereotypes and perceptions. Do people know about the work conditions which are relevant now? Often no. And you did not state in your study that 2 years ago we introduced a new provisions in the legal framework on remote employment. And we did it, first of all, for women, so that they could have an official employment and work remotely, so that they would not have problems. So these mechanisms are available. It is possible to do it. So we are not talking, about many about such thing that some people they do not want really to get a job because they are afraid to lose benefits. And with all due respect, it is not possible to have a job and to have benefits, especially in the times of war. Sorry, but our budget does not allow for that. So the taxes that are paid by taxpayers, it is important that these taxes are used for benefits for those who really need them. It's not possible to get salary and to get benefits. We looked at the experience of different countries and it does not work like that. So if we talk about working with stereotypes, we need to start with the good communication campaigns to show all the opportunities which are available. We as business, we do it locally. But people often say that business sees us as slaves, business does not do that, does not do this, but it is also a stereotype. Business companies, they give money to kindergartens, to schools, to create shelters, to do repairs, and many enterprises, they create the child care rooms. But do we have more women because of that? I see that you say no. So maybe that is not the key problem. Maybe first of all, we need to work with women, first of all, with their stereotypes, because women often see themselves as housewives. And if we do not change that, then we can come up with as many tools and mechanisms as we want, but things will not change. So It's just an additional recommendation. The main thing is to work with two things: stereotypes and motivation, first of all. And only then we can come up with some tools. Because if I start talking about tools available for like a business, and also we can talk about the ministries and opportunities that they offer. And do you know which specialty is most popular for the new students? Most popular is psychologist, you know. So we what the information campaign of the country is about: we need psychologists, we need specialists in mental health. So the country, probably the government, does not understand what they have done. People want to become psychologists, and we do not have information campaigns about other opportunities, about jobs, about training, and so on. If you send a request to the Ministry of Education, they will tell you about their programs which are available. The Ministry of Veterans, they have also vouchers, reimbursement mechanisms, a lot of opportunities for women. Why? Because that is natural. They are trying to deal with this issue. They will have these social workers, they train them, they give them jobs. Are there people who want to be there? Is there a waiting line? No, not really. That is why it is important to have information campaigns. I think that it is very important to change the stereotypes. And today, there is no information campaign in the country which would show all the opportunities available. And then the woman would see that she can have access to all the opportunities available to anyone else, so that she is not just a housewife. So when we change this perception, then the tools will work. Otherwise, they won't. And we don't really have a choice when we see the statistics. 50% of women, they are not officially employed. This is what we see in 30 years. So 50%, that is not okay. Yeah, we understand that about 26% they have unofficial jobs, but still those numbers are high. And about kindergartens, I do not agree. Also, there are opportunities. There are nurseries, there are kindergartens. They are available. Women don't know about them. I ask women if they know about it, and I just show them where they can go. They say yes. I say yes. Yes, just next in the street nearby. They say no, they won't take my child. Why? Well, because they have a waiting list. Are you sure there is a waiting list? We make a call together and they say yes, they can come and the child can go to this nursery. But there is the stereotype in her head that this opportunity is not available, that something is not there. So we go back to the information campaign.
But we know that there are issues, but there is little information. There is no awareness raising campaign where these kindergartens are, uh, where these crashes are. We don't know where they are. We don't know how to look for information. When parents call me every year, they say, uh, mm, we cannot find a place for a child in the kindergarten. They imagine that if they ask me, I will call the minister and the minister directly will help me. But no, I just Google. They we have problems in rural areas indeed, but there are very few young people there and very few children. When there are three children in the entire village, it's very hard to set up at a kindergarten or a school. So there are other issues there. I would sort of distribute the problems depending on the region, depending on the area, depending on safety issues in the specific area. If we look at Pokrovsk, for example, this is our big pain point. We had an enterprise there. Do you know how long people work there? Until the very last day, until the mine itself was struck. people with families did not evacuate, they kept working. We were evacuating children all as a company, as a business. We were evacuating them by force almost. So businesses do create opportunities, but only businesses know about it. So an awareness raising campaign is a big idea. So Helvetas, please, after your wonderful research, let's take a next step. Thank you, Elena. And we also have a comment from Yulia Zaika and then Irina. And please, let's have just 2 minutes each, and then we are going to have a comment from the ministry. Yes, I would like to say that we actually have a global problem. There is no quality analytics based on which we identify priorities, and we don't have the right strategy, because when we have high quality data in certain regions and in certain areas, there is a lack of agreement among laws, regulatory acts, and so on. And we are now talking about consequences, not about the reasons. And if the ministry is regulating it, if we have this issue with booking the employees, registering them to not have them in the military, if we don't have priorities, if we have this problem with the vulnerable groups of the population, because as you mentioned very aptly, there are multiple vulnerable categories that may not be officially registered, because a woman whose child was drafted into the military, she is also a vulnerable category. She may be even more vulnerable at the moment. And this is the potential that could be used in a short period of time. And we have a situation when vulnerable categories have a lot of international missions, international foundations, and so on, who have a lot of opportunities of assistance from international foundations and stuff, but not for other vulnerable categories. So this coordination does need to take place. We haven't mentioned the issue of migration today yet, and this is also a legislative issue, because standards say that boys of ages 18 and above will not be able to go abroad. So this leads to a situation when children of ages 15 or even 14 leave the country together with their mom or their grandma, and we lose children, we lose women as potential, and we lose our entire scope of resources. And if we don't have a good idea of the market, we can't speak about professional orientation. We speak a lot about the professional orientation, career guidance for women, but if we don't understand what they want, we will not be able to provide career guidance. We spoke about major gaps in decision making, in engagement to women in different sectors, plus women's workload has been growing exponentially lately, and we are going to lose them, although women as workforce are crucial now. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for your position. Irina, over to you, 2 minutes. Olena, as for your comment that we did not mention changes in the legislation, we did. But the scope of our research, of our analytical report, is quite large. So we focused on problems On the national level, we tried to mention as many barriers as possible that we identified. I absolutely agree with you that we need to carry out regional analysis next, because indeed situations vary a lot across the regions, especially if we speak about employers who create co-workings, kindergartens, and other opportunities for women to join the workforce. If we speak about that, this is of course mostly about large businesses. When we speak about small and medium enterprises, I'm sorry, I have to disagree. If you need information, you need to come to the source, that is to businesses, and you need to ask. I need to tell you that there are a lot of small and medium businesses do this as well. The issue is that this is not a PR stunt for them. Mm, I wouldn't idealize small and medium enterprises that much, because they actually hide their employment very often and work semi-legally. This is our first problem. We demonize businesses right away. Businesses are bad, and so we don't need to speak about it in general. Please, let's have a professional manner of speaking here. Of course, I just want to point out one important thing. Recently, I was approached by the Ministry of Veteran Affairs. They said we have a problem with veterans because they don't see what businesses are creating. And they said, let's create some resource. Let's show off companies that have opportunities for veterans employment, so where a veteran can actually see what companies offer the best opportunities. So perhaps, I don't know, there should be a single resource where women can see companies that have created conditions for them, because the biggest problem of all ministries, like I said, is the lack of information of what is actually happening in the market. If we don't know about this on the national level, how are regular people going to know about this? Does the Ministry of Economy ask about business? No, it doesn't. Did they ask it? No. They decided that we need drivers. That's it. You see? That's it. I apologize. Thank you for your comments. It's a wonderful, lively discussion that we are absolutely going to continue individually as well, and also during networking. But we have to move forward in line with our agenda, and considering the research that was presented, the reflections by the business, it would be really interesting to listen to the Ministry of Social Policy. Ms. Oksana Sulima, Deputy Director General of the Directorate for Development of Social Services and Head of the Working Group for the Development of the Social Services System. Oksana, over to you. Hello, colleagues. It is indeed a very interesting discussion. I guess I will support my colleagues in their comment about stereotypes, because we do encounter stereotypes indeed. For example, the service of support during inclusive education, we introduced it together with the Ministry of Education. Parents have this opportunity, but what do we observe in reality? The mom applies for the service, then she asks about other services for their child. So in some cases, it's scary for parents to let these children go. As for caretaking and difficult conditions, indeed, of course, a person who requires caregiving does have to be in a condition that requires care. But requirements that these people should be living alone, this is not a requirement that exists today. Even if they have children, people can still apply for caregiving services at home. And this is what we offer. When a community says we don't have a budget for this, we offer them caregiving service through the municipal provider, but they refuse. So there is indeed a problem there. I think we need to work with families, with um, people. We need to talk to them. We need to explain this to them. We need to provide social and psychological support, because sometimes psychological support works best here. If we speak about our program, the municipal nanny program, because we all know about it, this is a project that we had since 2015, I think. Any mom could apply for the municipal nanny, any kind of mom, including those who are on maternity leave. But we ended up looking at the situation when people apply for the compensation of a nanny, but they don't have a nanny. Last year, we expanded the opportunity to recruit a municipal nanny for IDPs, because we understand that the mom also needs to become economically capable very often. But did we have major growth in the number of these nannies and number of parents who approach us for this compensation? Not a lot. This is not the leap that we expected. And we are thankful to the ILO, which also helps us work on this. On the one hand, we are saying that we will help people take care of their child. And on the other hand, we are saying that we will help these women or men to become these nannies who will be employed eventually. So we hope that this combination of work with employees and families will provide us with a better result, a better impact. As for our projects, in addition to municipal nanny, what we spoke about before, we are currently indeed paying a lot of attention to caregiving services, especially if we speak about people with disabilities, the elderly, and so on. And today we have a project on supported living, when funds are allocated to a person who chooses a service provider. This is an experimental project. We are working with IDPs today because this is unfortunately the most vulnerable category of people who are sometimes without a home, without loved ones. So this requires a lot of attention from us indeed. Also, with the support of UNICEF and the UK government, we have introduced another project on small grants, where we allocate funds for the providers of social services, including ones who will provide the daytime caregiving, especially when we speak about children with disabilities, and support for inclusive education. Other services that are also very important to us are um, mm, uh, transitional supported living for young people with disabilities, and assistance with student residence, because there are problems in families when parents really worry about their child. They worry how the child will live alone. And in order to facilitate this process of separation and prepare a child for independent life in the future, we are going to keep working on the development of these services. As for ageism and attitudes to the elderly, we have a strategy on active retirement, but we are going to review it. This is our plan for now. And overall, what the ministry does, and it's important actually, is we are introducing a procurement of social services for the national budget funds. And we hope that this format will support communities in the development of social services. Such an example is the service for formation of resilience, and I think there are several aspects why it is helpful. First, it is co-funded by different parties. On the one hand, this is the community that provides premises, administers these premises, understands who lives in this community, because they are going to work with the service providers. This is the service provider himself or herself, because they also invest in the provision of services, and the state which partially compensates the cost of this service. The service of resilience building itself is aimed at development of parental competencies, psychological support, and something that is important for us today. And this training is not just about the population. That is, experts teach not only residents, not only service providers, but they can also train doctors if necessary. They can train teachers, so that everyone, especially those people who are working directly with other people, would have these self-help skills. And it is important today because now we have a lot of the population that is in acute stress. And one more direction, by the way, this is very important when we speak about things we don't know about. I have been working for many years, and people keep saying, we don't know anything about social services. Even the community sometimes says we don't know anything. So today we are actively working on digitizing all these processes.
So we have a social portal, and we share information about our services there. So where people can get them, what those services are about. And we have a register of social service providers. So people can check it and choose service providers. They can see where those providers work, what kind of services they offer, so that it would be possible just to Google and find some information and understand where people could apply. So that is what I wanted to say briefly. But I want to say that the development of social services system is vital for us. We understand that we help people to cope with difficult life circumstances. We support them, and also we help to also create new jobs. I mean, social workers, we lack also social workers. We want to engage more people. Thank you, Oksana, for the work that you are doing. And we as Helvetas will be happy to continue working with the Ministry of Social Policy. And now I would like to give the floor to the Ministry of Education and Science. Irina, could you please tell us about the programs that you offer to women? And maybe you could share your thoughts and say if women are integrating and are training in professions which are traditionally perceived as male. So we have Irina Ismakaeva, head of the Vocational Education Department, Ministry of Education and Science. Thank you for inviting me. It is an interesting presentation, an interesting discussion. And I see that we often have this popular word that I that I hear is a nanny. So a lot of people talked about nanny. And I want to say that we worked with on a professional standard for nannies. It is now being approved, and then we will prepare a relevant training program for nannies. As for the stereotypes, I want to say that we have an experience in Ukraine, that aviation, transport, and some other areas of work are considered to be male industries. But we know some examples of women who were quite successful in these areas, which proves that professionalism and talent, they do not have a gender. So, of course, our ministry in these challenging times, um, when we have all those huge problems and challenges for our society, for our women, um, in terms of the economic development of the country in particular, the Ministry of Education and Science, considering all those nuances, invest resources uh, to uh, expand remote sources of education and training. So we have professional training and online platform, and there are training programs. I think that we have 161 training courses in 37 categories. Also, there is our online resource, and we have a section there on professional training for women who want to get employment in the areas where they were not traditionally broadly represented. So there are their focal points and with contact details who are ready to cooperate with the employment centers. And I want to say on behalf of my colleagues in the ministry that we are open and ready to support women who want to participate in economic development and recovery of our country. So the speaker was not using the microphone now. Statistics is not really good, really, but we have a lot of training courses and a lot of educational facilities. They open their courses, but unfortunately, we do not have a high demand. We do not see that yet, unfortunately. Yeah, we raised the topic of mental health support, psychological support. We work in this area as well. We have international support projects. We provide psychological support to educators, social workers, but they are not specifically focused on women. No, not yet. But I think that we can come up with some ideas in this area as well. Thank you, Irina, for sharing your position. Our colleagues, maybe we have any questions. Yeah, we can take a question from the room, and we have a question from Natalia in Zoom. So that is a question about the service municipal nanny. So in Kharkov, this service is available for people up to the age of 6. But what can parents do if they have children who are more than 6 years old? Because schools in Kharkiv are in online format. Yes, it is true. The service is available for children under 6 or 6 years old. We are thinking what we can else, and we are thinking about some new ideas to support families with children. So the concept is not ready yet. We are going to present it when it is ready. I think that we will cooperate with the Ministry of Education, and we will think like what we can do in the regions where schools operate in online format, in particular in Kharkiv. Thank you. Colleagues, any questions from the room? Okay, I will ask my question to Irina. It is good that there is this professional education platform. It is helpful, but I wanted to ask if there is the gender component in the training, or do you plan to maybe do the gender mainstreaming? Well, we have not done it yet, but we plan to do it, and we will share this information on our website. We have some materials that we can share, and we can have a more detailed discussion later. Yeah, sure. Well, we work with the Ministry of Education for many years. I wanted to add. So there was this regulation that was prohibiting women to have certain professions. Yeah, I think the question was about the professional training platform. So the situation changed. Professions are not prohibited now for women, and there is a new bill which is being drafted now. Верховна Rada will consider it. So before in the standard, we had to write for some professions only about males. And of course, it was not possible to talk about some gender mainstreaming. And sometimes, like when we take these words only males, away. They are saying we should bring it back, but we say no, it has changed. But women, they do not choose certain professions because for many years, people were thinking that it is not possible for women to work in certain areas, have certain professions, but it has changed. And we have this professional orientation show for like that we do with the ministry, and when there is one girl in a group of boys who and the children say that they want to be work in the power sector, electricity sector, so everybody is actually supporting the girl and hope that she will win. Well, I was asking about the competencies. Competencies like how to provide services without discrimination, without stereotypes. That was my question. Thank you, colleagues, for this active discussion. And now we have our next speaker. So, Oksana, you were talking about ILO, and you said that they help you with training nannies. So, I would like to give the floor to Irina Vintanyuk, Senior Project Coordinator, International Labor Organization. So, they have this initiative to address some of the problems we are discussing. Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you for inviting us, for sharing this interesting research study. I think that you know that we are carrying out a similar study, but it is focused on the barriers that prevent women from entering the workforce, women who have children under the age of 6. So my colleague will be talking more about it. We want to go really deep in this topic. But I want to say that first of all, that we have been looking at the problem of women and their participation in the workforce. We realized in 2022 that we had a big um, outflow of people from the workforce, and ILO was making some forecast. So it is very important to engage people who are not employed and are not looking for employment. So the question is how to find these people, how to motivate them to get jobs. As Anastasia said in the beginning, here we need to have a structured, systematic approach, and not just to work on an ad hoc basis and bridge some gaps, but we need to have a more comprehensive approach, especially if we are talking about a better recovery. And we've been working for 3 years, and thanks to SIDA, we now have continuation, extension of this project. So we hope that we will continue our work for at least 3 more years. And we work with the Ministry of Social Policy, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Education, with all the stakeholders in the sphere, and not to just apply a bandage, but to find more comprehensive solutions to this problem. So we call our project Child Care, and here we look at early childhood education and care, but its purpose is to make sure that women and generally parents have more time to integrate in the labor market so that they can make their contribution in the economy. So I can talk for hours about the problems in the area of education and care. And we could have a separate discussion on that, because when we worked for this 3 years, we could see that there are some issues with access to care, but those are not systematic issues. And that is why we work on the standard of training for nannies. And we had 320 um, people who registered from the municipal kindergartens. They wanted to open groups for children under 3, but they did not know how to work with this group of children. And now there will be this professional standard for nannies, which will be the basis for the professional standard of assistance working with the children under 3. Um, as for the preschool education, here, yes, we can talk about these online kindergartens, which do not really serve their purpose, and also this post-Soviet system of early child education. And when we look at the standards for the early childhood education centers to be built, to be constructed, they are very complicated. So there is a new regulatory document where we try to switch from this outdated understanding of what kindergarten is, so that we could implement new formats of child care based on the demand from the community, from working parents, and parents who want to find opportunities for child care, because parents they not always have proper training to ensure comprehensive development of their children. So that is, yeah, what I wanted to also point out. Also, I wanted to say that we work a lot on creating workplace solutions, and there are some great success stories, great examples of our work. And our laws do not prohibit to create such opportunities at the workplace. And of course, we are not Czech Republic when there is a program to support employers. I mean, like monetary support for employers who create childcare opportunities at the workplace. But currently we have a dialogue with the government of Ukraine, and thanks God we have achieved a lot of positive things already, and we hope that there will be a good result of this dialogue. So We are looking at different formats of child care at the workplace. There are some good cases. We are ready to share them, and we will be piloting even more options. So that is what we have been doing for these 3 years, developing some models, piloting them, and making conclusions on what works, what doesn't work, and how we can make some solutions sustainable, accessible, affordable. And we are looking at the demand because Olena rightly said that every ministry has great programs, but people do not know about them. And sometimes these programs are not coordinated. Uh, and there are some similar initiatives which go in parallel. But if we could join them, bring them together, they would give even a better result. So we have this program, Municipal Nanny. We plan to have an information campaign in summer to explain to people what this program is about. And we will not be just talking about this program, we will combine it with a training course for nannies based on some professional training schools. So our task is not just to tell people that such program is available. We want to tell nannies that they cannot just come to the household and be a nanny, but that they can also create such like mini nurseries, mini kindergartens. And it could be maybe not their like mini or micro business, but at least they could be self-employed like this. And we explain that to nannies. And the last thing I wanted to say is that we plan to run an information campaign to ruin stereotypes based on the results of the study that I mentioned. And as far as I know, the Ministry of Economy, there is now a program that you can do it, Звісно зможеш. So it would be good also to join efforts here because just in our project we cannot have a wide national coverage, but we plan to run an information campaign. So if there are partners who would be interested to get engaged, we can have a wider scale and we can make it faster.
Like I said, I can talk for hours. We know the system of caregiving and education, especially for children under 3, in great detail, but a lot is being done. So I would just ask us to coordinate our efforts because together we can accomplish much more. Thank you. I agree with you, Irina. Thank you for your presentation. And on behalf of Helvetas, we are doing everything possible to create synergy among these initiatives. So we'll be very happy to continue our cooperation with the IOL. And Irina, you mentioned the research conducted as part of your cooperation with UNICEF. So I would like to invite Tatiana Hrtsenko, a specialist for gender equality at UNICEF. Thank you, Anastasia. First, I would like to thank you for drawing attention to this important subject and for organizing this interesting discussion with key stakeholders in the subject. Thank you for helping us join this discussion. Thank you to Irina for mentioning this study, and I will tell you a little more about it. Together with the International Labour Organization, together with Irina, with Larissa, and with the Ukrainian Center of Social Reform. Yeah, those are the slides. Thank you. We are conducting this research. This is a national representative research, quite large. And we are researching access to preschool education and caregiving and expanding economic opportunities for women, whether these two issues correlate, whether there are barriers there, and so on. Our main purpose was to identify effective ways to increase women's opportunities to enter the labor market. Our hypothesis was that this could be done by strengthening a system of early childhood education and care and minimizing related barriers, including gender-based barriers. And the objectives that we set for ourselves were as follows. First, we want to analyze what problems are faced by women with children of ages 0 to 6 and their families in accessing ACAC services. And also understand the combination of parental leave policies and corresponding services that would facilitate women's participation in the labor market, encourage male involvement in childcare, and promote enrollment in ACAC services. We singled out 4 key objectives that have a lot of sub-objectives in them and many research questions that we tried to answer. First, we looked at assessing the ACAC services. We divide the children into 2 groups, 0 to 3 and 3 to 6. And we also looked at different areas, urban or rural areas. We analyzed the situation with IDPs, people with special learning needs, children with disabilities, and so on. So we analyzed different groups. We also wanted to assess the employment of these women. What is the situation in the employment sector? Whether there are any barriers, whether there are any barriers in social expectations. We are going to speak with employers and figure out what obstacles exist there. Then we are going to assess social impact in more detail, including gender stereotypes. And based on this analysis, we are going to develop recommendations. What methods are we going to use? Of course, we are going to analyze all the available research, secondary analysis of data, particularly this research. Thank you for presenting it. We are absolutely going to analyze it. We are going to analyze all policies, statistics, government data, and so on. We have already carried out a focus group together with some target groups for our research so that we can form the quantitative questionnaire correctly. We are going to hold that survey, and then at a later stage, we plan to hold another focus group if we need to clarify something. And also we are going to carry out in-depth interviews. The interviews are going to be held not only with women and men who take care of children, but also with employers who have an impact on the employment of women. This is the main part that I wanted to share. So if you have any questions to us, you are welcome. Thank you, Tatiana. We wish you every success with your research. We will be happy if research done by Helvetas will be helpful in forming further recommendations. Colleagues, now I would like to invite Mikhailo Koryukalov, expert on gender policies, candidate of political sciences. Mikhailo, I know that you were also involved in the development of a series of documents that are very important for our country, particularly in cooperation with the Ministry of Social Policy, including the issue of parental leave for men as a certain stimulus to encourage women's participation in economic in labor market. Could you share potential solutions that can be introduced to engage women in the workforce? No, the parental leave is not working yet. It has existed for 4 years, and if we look at the percentage of men who go on this parental leave, it's still very low because it's unpaid. You know, after the recommendations for employers, I expected to have a slide with recommendations to employees, but I guess you don't have this direct link with them. But What are we talking about here, essentially? We are saying that there is quite a large group of people who are poor or who face the risk of being poor, who need social protection or face difficult circumstances. And obviously, they are also part of the solution. It's not only the state and the employers that can save them, but almost at every slide, one of the big problems is the difficult economic situation of women and the difficult psychological situation of women. But that is true. When you are in difficult psychological condition, it is very difficult to work, to look for employment, to change your employment status. This is why it is so important that we look at the research done for women and by women. The key tasks that we need to resolve is untangle this contradiction between the difficult psychological condition, which is actually really true, and they need to be more motivated, more engaged, show more initiative. I can share my example. Well, not my example. It's an example of the kindergarten where my child goes. The child is a year and 8 months old, and we decided to start kindergarten. It also helps that her older sister, who is 4, is there. But we made an agreement with this kindergarten, as all families have done, that if they leave the child who is very young there, they can stay there for a little while. This is working. She is finally relaxed there. They send me pictures where she's smiling, where she trusts the educators. I was there often. Why was I there, not my wife? Why do I have to ask this question? Because I'm an equal parent. But if somebody is curious, it's because my wife had very active work period. She wanted to prove her worth for promotion and so on. This campaign is very good. Of course, you will be able to work in a sector that was traditionally dominated by men. Of course, you will be able to claim higher salaries. And I think we need to expand this campaign because, like you said very correctly about stereotypes, the 2022 survey was about the prevalence of stereotypes. And there was a question, do you think that women are worse leaders in politics, worse leaders in business than men? And there are always 15 to 20% of women who agree with this. Among men, of course, the percentage is higher, like 30 to 40%, but there are women who agree with this. This survey about whether there are special professions for men and for women, there are also a lot of men and women who agree with this. The thing that we are doing is looking at it from the viewpoint of social protection, right? We are looking at protecting the population. In the situation of the war, when a lot of people have been affected, that's difficult. But I doubt that this is the way, that this is the solution. In Europe, there is an indicator. In their case, 45% of children under the age of 3 ideally have to be in kindergartens. That is the target score for Europe, that Europe set for itself. Yeah, they don't have the war, but the fact that we do have the war makes it even more necessary for us. The situation is more critical for us. But 2 years ago, there was a study why parents aren't ready to take their children to kindergartens at an early age. It's not only because the kindergartens aren't there, it's also because, no, it's my child. The child needs to be at home with me. This is important because staying on parental leave until the child reaches 3 years of age, that's economically unviable. So this issue is actually really important for us. And that makes examples even more important when there is the initiative of the kindergarten. Usually these are private kindergartens who agree to engage children who are under the age of 3, or the initiative of the employer. I know that there are so-called children's rooms in some government agencies where you can leave your child for several years in the NABU, in the Prosecutor General's office, but this has to be the full cycle, because if at least one link is missing, I know that you have the service, yes, there has to be a caregiver there, an educator, there has to be trust that the child will be well taken care of. So I cannot agree more than I already do that there should be communication campaigns aimed at employees, potential employees. And the last point that I want to make, by the way, what these campaigns can be about, it's about looking for resources within the family. Obviously, the state cannot allocate billions of hryvnias for new social services because they aren't there. And we need to look for resources within the family, especially among men. There was a survey how many men take care of their children under the age of 3 every day, like feed them, bathe them. That's around 30%, while for women it's obviously almost 100%. So I feel like men should be more involved in taking care of children, although they are lazy, of course. So we need to come up with recipes how we encourage them to do that either rationally or emotionally, but we need to be doing that. Thank you, Mihailo. We are also going to have a short comment from Irina and from Yulia. I just want to say that, Mihailo, you spoke about the difficult psychological situation of women, which is especially relevant for Ukraine. And I want to read out a comment that we saw in the chat, since we have an online broadcast. How should a woman who was evacuated from shelling in a bathrobe and slippers, who is in acute stress, how is she going to look for a job? What resources would you recommend to her? Maybe, can I say about this? You know, the first day I arrived like also almost wearing a bathrobe and slippers. If you are in acute stress, when you are alone, when you are not busy, that is even scarier. So if you have slippers, that's already a lot. And the first thing you need to do, you need to be busy. And that's the way that you can actually handles this, because if you stay at home alone, closed up with your problems, this may lead to even worse consequences. This is my personal experience. And when I was given a job, I was very happy. Everyone was scared of calling me because people wanted me to get some rest. And it was very difficult for me to explain to people that rest is the worst thing they could offer to me. Thank you, Elena. And as for recommendations, we can say that you can always approach the local state unemployment center. You can receive information about available reskilling, upskilling, or even employment. Oksana? Yes, I would like to comment a little bit as well. If the community that a woman is in has a resilience center, I will recommend to approach it, because these skills would definitely be useful. But one of these skills is this very isolated step-by-step work, so you can focus and you can move on. Of course, there has to be a certain period to stabilize yourself, but then you can go back to work. Thank you, Oksana. And then have 1 minute for Irina and Julia. Thank you. I will be very quick. Last year, we presented the global simulator of investment into caregiving policies. Today, we spoke about the main barriers preventing women from joining the workforce. We mostly see stereotypes and unpaid informal caregiving work that is unproportionately divided between men and women that disproportionately affects women. Our simulator showed, we presented it back then to the government and to all our partners. It showed that provided we have the right policies, provided we have sufficient investment in caregiving policies, we are speaking about caregiving in general, not just about children. We are achieving an increase in the GDP. We simulated a scenario for Ukraine that showed that for every dollar used, Ukraine has $6 return on investment. And in tax returns, it's 2.5 tax dollars per dollar. I understand that this may sound unrealistic, but we need to hear the government, we need to hear the goals. That's one thing that I want to share. The second thing is to even out the gender balance. And of course, this is not just good for women, this is good for children who need to understand that they have two parents who both make a contribution into child raising. And we are talking about decreasing the gap in lifelong earnings between women and men. There is a perfect example in Europe where this gap is 20%, and this is considered very good. And this is accomplished by investment into the right caregiving policies. Because caregiving is not expenditure. This is an economic sector that can develop, that can create jobs, then create employment opportunities, that can create opportunities for tax contributions. Because if we contribute to the formalization of this industry, this is also something we need to work on, and we are working on this, but we're also proposing the government to join us. Formalization of this employment also means taxes that go into the national budget. Thank you, Julia.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the information campaign. Without a clear strategy and priorities, we cannot start an information campaign because it will lead to the chaos that we have today. We have hundreds of different programs, but that is about quantity, not quality. Without coordination, like one program can ruin what the other program is doing if we do not communicate and coordinate. About stereotypes and correct presentation of information, Irina was talking about the example of the Czech Republic. So with the OSCE mission as a gender advisor, I had an opportunity to go to the Czech Republic, and their government told what they are doing. So they have some norms in their legislation on how to take the burden of childcare from women. And I ask, but why are you again talking about this stereotype? So assuming that the woman is taking care of the child, because having a child is a decision of two people. And here we are talking about the institution of family and the gender policy. So are we talking about equal rights policy, and many programs, they have this women equality component, but during the war it is very a kind of hard question, and people have a lot of sentiments about it. And about integration and engagement of business, social sector, private sector, we talked a lot about self-employment, but if we talk about socialization, that's Okay, but if we talk about the economic component, then we will see the negative trend. So we see that we lack workforce in many sectors, and if we talk about self-employment, we will be losing these people from the workforce. And if these efforts are not aimed at developing the skills and the competencies of people, that could not be effective. So first of all, we need to identify the needs of households, communities, and regions. Okay, Olena, just for you, 15 seconds. We just forgot about one problem. I just know another problem. I was on a business trip for 1 week, and people are asking, how was my husband and my kids? I said, oh, my kids, they took care of my husband, so they are okay. So it's like we do not trust men. We do not trust that they will cope. And women often think that I will better do my job and take care of my kids. Trust your husbands. If your trusted husbands do not cope, then your kids will take care of them. Thank you for your comment. And when we were preparing this event, we also thought like what programs are available in Ukraine and in the neighboring countries that are aimed at inclusion of women and other vulnerable populations. So I would like to give the floor to Natalia Kashowska, Gender Equality and Social Inclusion Advisor, Reconomy Helvetas. Over to you, Natalia. Thank you. So I would like to start with telling what the program Our Economy is. It is a green and inclusive economic development program implemented by Helvetas with support of the Swiss government. It is implemented in 11 Eastern Partnership countries and in the Western Balkans. And also in Ukraine. It is aimed at building the economic capacity of women and young people, in particular from vulnerable populations. And when we talk about the green approach, we are talking about circular economy to use the resources effectively as opposed to the linear economy, like based on the consumption principles. So I have changed a little bit the direction of our discussion, but I will explain why it is important. According to the European Commission plan, according to different estimations, there will be around 700,000 new jobs created during a transition to the circular economy. But at the same time, many jobs, many professions, they will disappear, and we need to prepare our labor market for that. This is what our economy is doing. We are preparing small and medium enterprises for these new conditions. We help them with requalification and advanced training for their employees. Also, I wanted to say that LinkedIn had a research study recently that there is a gender gap in the so-called green skills. So to ensure a just transition, it is important to bridge this gender gap and focus on building the capacity, upskilling and reskilling of women in the relevant sectors of economy within this transition to the circular economy. We cooperate with the Association of the Light Industry and with the Ukrainian Fashion Week. So we work with small and medium brands, and we have this center developing and introducing training modules which would help to train future professionals based on these new approaches. And I wanted to reiterate that the Ministry of Education approved a gender strategy not so long ago. and it is aimed at ruining the gender stereotypes in the sectors dominated by men. Also, we cooperate with the energy sector, and it is aimed at encouraging women to join the sector. They have a leadership program for 70 women, and they have a survey to look at the barriers for women to um, work in the energy sector. They're looking at revising the HR policies in companies and organizations to have more targeted programs for women. And we work with the Beetroot Academy. Thanks to this cooperation, we were able to train front end designers, women who were forced to leave Ukraine and they had a refugee status. So those women, they got training in UIT areas and they could combine their work with taking care of their children while their men are still not engaged in their child care and to have flexible working hours. And with the Beetroot Academy, we also have developed an AI training course. Currently, only 22 per professionals in the world working in the area of AI are women. So in the world, it's 22%. In Ukraine, it's 16% of women in the sphere of AI. So there is this gender gap, and it limits diversity and innovative potential of companies and organizations. And of course, it leads to certain bias in the algorithms of AI. So the more women are engaged in these processes, the less biased the AI solutions will be. So in Ukraine, business uses AI tools quite extensively. So it is important to overcome this bias to employ women in this sphere. So I understand that we lack time, so that is all from me. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them, but probably it's more individually. Thank you, Natalia, for presenting the Reconomy program. And now I would like to start our next sector, next block. We have two small presentations, and I will ask our speakers to speak for 5 to 7 minutes and to talk about the opportunities of different business associations to integrate women in the economic processes. So please share our next presentation for Yulia Zaika, Executive Director, League of Business and Professional Women of Ukraine. Over to you, Yulia. Thank you. I have so many thoughts in the course of our discussion, and I thought that I could change some parts of our presentations. Our NGO was registered in 2000. It was a transformative period of life in the country, and the needs and the circumstances were changing. So our mission is to um, uh, help yeah, leaders grow who have high standards of work and who change the country and the world. We created a new strategy of our organization, and now we are work as a national organization. So we are a national association of leaders with a proactive position, which creates changes to respond to challenges and to ensure effective solutions through training, development, and partnership. We are part of Business Professional Women Network. After we had this training with the Kyiv Mahila Academy, um, we focused on a partnership of proactive women and men through the achievement of the common goal. So we do not discriminate other people. We do not focus on discrimination others, but we just try to implement our own potential. So we see the strengths of partnership of men and women, and for many years we have been implementing the family policies to overcome the stereotypes when women are considered to be responsible for taking care of children and relatives. And our programs and projects that we implemented in the last 3 years are presented here. We worked at strengthening membership-based business associations of micro and small and medium enterprises. There were two phases, and we were one of the first in Ukraine to develop a statute of our organization, and with the national and international experts, we developed a code of ethics and other policies which are not just to be there, but they are to be functional and to help build the processes of our organization. We also have a regulatory hub, procurement groups. We had a mentorship a program, and now Kiev Mahila Business School is also do now having they have this program. So actually, and business women association in Europe have been doing it for quite a lot of years, and now we are also implementing these programs to promote economic empowerment of and economic growth of regions and communities. And also within the second phase of the project, we implemented a pilot project of the Interaction Platform Consortium. This is a platform interview action. So we had the idea to have this coordination platform because when the full-scale innovation started, we saw that there was a chaos, lack of coordination. There were no registers, no understanding of the needs, but there was an urgent need to respond to the challenges. And we had to make some decisions very quickly. That is why a huge IT platform was developed, bringing together different stakeholders to ensure direct connections between them. Uh, the aim is coordination and facilitation of the domestic market. So international partners they want to make investments and they want to see economic growth in our country because if for example, we need humanitarian aid and we do not buy some products in other countries, but we buy in our country, we have savings in terms of logistics, transport, and we ensure investments and economic growth. But we do not just take humanitarian aid and consume it. And there was a shock when we later communicated with hundreds of international partners, and we saw that humanitarian aid and economic growth programs, they are often not connected, not linked. But there is a gap because It is important to first have humanitarian response in a certain region and then have economic recovery and economic growth because sometimes it is not possible to work if there were no prior efforts. It's like with big enterprises, manufacturing facilities, sometimes it is easier to start from scratch than to have an outdated old factory. And now we see that it is difficult sometimes to interact with some stakeholders because there is some competition for resources, and we have identified the different processes of our partners, and we suggested our partners to consolidate and coordinate, and we could see a good result of those efforts. So we are not a humanitarian organization, and we focused more on the economic capacity of communities and business development in Ukraine. But the circumstances in our country led to the situation when we had to respond to the existing needs very fast. So we prepared registers of needs of the communities and regions, and that is how we use this coordination platform that I mentioned before. So in 5 months, with the support of our international partners, yeah, so we were able to ensure reconstruction of 2,000 houses and apartments of households. So for 3 years, we also worked on creating a crisis um, center within the project, comprehensive approach to addressing the problem of gender-based violence in Ukraine. So we also had um, were involved in the We Check self-assessment initiative. So there were 5 such assessments in the world, and we did it in Ukraine. This report shows stereotypes really well. It shows how different groups have what kind of stereotypes they have in terms of women entrepreneurship or like women organizations. So we looked at the perception, like how people perceived those initiatives. For example, women organization. Is it an organization led by women? Is it an organization providing services to women? And we could see a lot of kind of insights, and those are not just stereotypes, but a lack of knowledge. When we come to small communities in Ukraine, we heard different responses when we asked, is everything okay with the gender component? How do you use this gender mainstreaming? Uh, so some heads of community said, gender in our community is me, or do not worry, we are all healthy. So some people said like this, because we have this professional deformation, we are aware of this topic, and we have different thinking than other people, in the field.
Whereas the principles of empowerment of women for opportunities, we actually try to implement the equality policies and create equal opportunities at enterprises. We also have a project, Women and War Life Goes On. It is a union of entrepreneurs who do socially responsible business, who provide for vulnerable categories. And these were activities aimed at women who lost their husbands or children or housing. This includes psychological rehabilitation, consultations of gynecologists. They were provided with clothing and footwear to support them a little bit. 2 minutes, please. we actually started working on strategies for communities, regions, and the country, because we see that strategies are of a declarative nature and they have little alignment with the actual needs. So this platform, this forum interaction, is aimed at improving the labor situation. We had 8 industry-specific groups that included representatives of designated ministry of the enterprises in this industry, companies in this industry, so that we could look at different roles and find a solution that would be as effective as possible for everyone. And it was a bit of a shock for everyone, because we spoke about defense, we spoke about healthcare, we had 8 sectors, we have fully developed materials that discussed all problematic issues, and all these groups had to identify top 10 issues and prioritize them so that we could sync up the work under different vectors. And as a result, we started the development, and now we have the fully developed terms of reference for the analytical platform. And this is not about statistical data. It's not just about data collection on the surface level. This is about the analysis of needs in different sectors that is assessed in terms of learners, in terms of parents, and so on, so that we could see what is missing from educational establishments in terms of equipment, in terms of safety, in terms of personnel, in terms of innovation, the curriculum, and so on. And this is also about looking for solutions that are technically important, that should become the basis for the strategy. And finally, a very interesting study that we conducted last year, CIPE. This is the study of gender indicators. We researched it in almost every oblast about whether they use gender-based indicators. There is very little to no collection of information on the state level when it comes to involvement of women, the presence of women in certain positions, in certain sectors. We also sent a request to state tax services about economic scores. What sectors prevail in different regions? Well, how many enterprises led by women opened or closed? This analysis is not maintained. This information is also not synced up in terms of the type of economic activity. So we don't understand the nature of our regions and communities because this information is not collected. So this analytical platform are developed in a way so that we could understand the specific demands of a certain community in certain region. And something that we are proud of, the most recent project that we implemented as part of the project, this is business consulting. This is sort of a mini MBA program. This is a management program, and we didn't touch upon this issue today, although it is very important, because very often we make these decisions based largely on intuition, because the experts were gathered across half a year, because we wanted this to be not just education for the sake of education. And the results are very impressive, because out of 40 business representatives, 50% scaled up their business, which was the main performance indicator. And startups, not just about writing a business plan, it's about creating a full business model, the structure, the format. And they are now launching their businesses. These are effective models, and we are planning to expand these. Thank you, Julia. We know that you are doing incredible work in the Chernihiv region and across Ukraine. Thank you very much for providing synergy between civil society organizations and business unions so that they would improve their coordination, particularly the training programs that you are forming under the same methodological framework. This is also very helpful to Ukrainian women. So thank you very much for your work. And colleagues, we need to move on to the final final presentation of our event, I would like to invite Olha Veselovska, the head of Association of Ukraine's Ambassadors, to share your experience with implementation of programs in the engagement of women in the workforce, and would like to ask the technical team to start next presentation. I am happy to welcome you today, and I'm happy to thank the organizers for the opportunity to join this discussion. While I am starting, our organization helps women to fulfill their potential and to become economically independent. Today we spoke a lot how women are the drivers of Ukraine's economic development. So we believe that support of women's employment and entrepreneurship is necessary, even critical. Our activity is based on a systemic approach on the overcoming barriers to the inclusion of women in the processes of rebuilding the country. And it includes certain logical components that I am going to talk about in more detail. The first aspect is psychological support. Today we already heard a lot how relevant it is, how important it is. I'm not going to talk about this more. I want to say about something more fundamental, which is our philosophy. It is a thing that threads through our entire activity. Our approach is recover to empower. We believe that the way to personal fulfillment, great work, successful business, and economic independence starts from a woman's internal resilience. So at the first stage, we offer psychological support programs. We help women to reduce the stress levels, to believe in themselves and to find motivation, because I think the question of motivation needs a separate panel discussion, which has been mentioned multiple times today, unfortunately. The second stage, the stage of recovery, when a woman's psychological state is more or less evened out, we give the woman an opportunity to join mentorship programs that allow the woman to find their place in the labor market. The second component is training of social and economic skills. We actually think that soft skills are not just a nice bonus to your personality, it is an important basis for your further professional development. It is important that when Google or Amazon interview candidates, they pay attention to soft skills more than hard skills. They pay attention to how a person carries themselves, how resilient they are, how active they are. So in all our educational component, we focus on the development of soft skills, which, like I said, promote employment. And what is important for our target audience in particular, since we mostly work with IDPs or women who come back from abroad, the soft skills are highly important for their integration into new communities, and so that women could find their place in these communities. I will not dwell on this either. These are educational courses. We created an educational platform of ambassadors. It's called Ambassadoria, where we carry out various educational events, masterminds, practical workshops in different regions of Ukraine. And essentially, we created this space for interaction, for sharing experience. This was not our goal to set up collaborations, but we have spontaneous collaborations between our participants when women who have businesses start interacting, and as a result, they have new interesting business projects emerging. As for mentorship, we consider mentorship to be an effective tool to support women in business and career. Our mentors are experienced entrepreneurs, leaders of business companies, well-known volunteers, politicians, experts who help women to develop their career plans, their career development, who actually inspires them and lead by example, helping them to develop leadership skills. We also actively work with businesses, with business associations. We engage businesses in mentorship programs and supportive educational initiatives. The community building is the biggest component of our activity, the cornerstone of our activity, because we believe that an active women's community is something that we absolutely need today. Our community includes 510 ambassadors, including 69 leaders of civil society organizations, and also we have 5 hubs abroad. What does the community give us? We look at the community not just as a space. This is a tool that helps women find a job, obtain mentorship, and develop their own business. We carry out a lot of networking events. We also support local initiatives. And our community is an organism that already works without our support. And when women want to join our, we have more and more women who want to join our community and our program. As part of the community, which is very important for women who are relocated from temporarily occupied areas, who don't know when or if they will be able to come back. The important part is peer-to-peer assistance, because this is a very relevant format today. Well, last minute. Yes, of course. We also promote that all changes should be institutionalized, and we are saying that there should be certain institutional memory that will provide women assistance for employment. That is why we work as much as possible with local organizations. We help them to develop their skills with project management, with financial management, with the creation of client-oriented services. We also actively cooperate with the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine on the implementation of the national strategy. We are also planning to train professional associations on introducing gender-sensitive approaches in their work. And finally, I would like to make a small announcement. On the 8th of April in Kyiv, we are going to hold the first global forum of Ukrainian women, which will include the issue of bringing back Ukrainian women from abroad, integration and reintegration of women in new communities, and the role of employment and support of entrepreneurship in these processes. So we will be very happy to see you at this event. Thank you for your attention. I hope I was able to launch the timing. Also, I would like to tell our audience this is just our first level of danger with the air alert. This is just a MiG, and we are monitoring this. We are now going to start an interactive vote, our survey, because based on our discussion, it's very interesting for us to find out how you feel about the solutions that exist. On the screen, you see the QR code, and you can go to the link, and at the link you will have to choose up to 3 options. Which barriers you consider the most critical for women's economic inclusion? Please select your responses. I hope that everyone was already able to scan this, and Oksana Kosenko has just sent a link in the chat so that our participants who are with us on the in the online format, please share the link on the screen so that we can see the results of the vote. Now, I see the results on my laptop. Colleagues, can you share the link? You have the link in your email. I see the trend that is already emerging. Now we are trying to share the results on the screen so that you can see them. For now, I will say that we have leaders of this vote, namely stereotypes in society about the role of women. Because today there were multiple points about the role of women in the labor market. And the second item is the lack of support of women with children, which it has 13 votes, which I think is relevant in terms of our today's discussion. And now you see the results on your screen. Wonderful. Okay, so you see the concentration of pink circles. 13 votes are the insufficient childcare support, and 13 votes for stereotypes in society regarding the role of women. The vote continues, but let's move on to the second question. Please go on your phones again. And by the way, there is a small gift for our audience, phone holders. You can use them. Make sure that you direct them here. You can adjust the supports and use it in your work activity. And of course, remember Helvetas by them. So what do we need to do here? You see a scale of 1 to 5. We already discussed today certain solutions that are proposed for the engagement of women in the economy. This is an information campaign to overcome stereotypes, expanding services for taking care of family and children, access to additional funding, loans and grants, targeted training programs, vocational or entrepreneurial, and introducing flexible forms of employment. And your task is to identify your thoughts in terms of the impact of a certain decision on a scale from 1 to 5, how much it could resolve the situations we have in Ukraine today.
So we have a leader, introduction of flexible forms of employment. And the next one, ranking second, is information campaign to overcome stereotypes. And the next one is expansion of child care and family care services. And let us go back to the next question, very simple. Please rate the usefulness of the Helvetas research. So we would appreciate if you could share your thoughts so that we can continue our activities and prepare recommendations for the government, the employers, and the national and international organizations. So we will be thankful for the score that you give to our research study. So some more time for you to vote. And while our participants, offline and online, are voting, I want to say that this event is organized within the project supported by the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany, implemented by Helvetas and JERU. So thank you for your high assessment, high score. I really appreciate it. And please describe today's event in one word. Maybe you have some word that comes up in your mind or some thought, some idea. Please share, and then we will see the cloud of your thoughts and ideas. Useful information. Thank you. Maybe some term that you remembered. Maybe you liked some information shared by our dear speakers. So the words on the screen are motivation, effective, important, useful, future, stereotypes. Yeah, so that is really what we talked about. Professionalism, care, intensive, empower, women economic empowerment, future, a glass ceiling. Also, this is something that we need to cope with. Interest, desire, insightful, call for action, change, inspiration, and the key word that you see in big letters in the middle is motivation. So that is why we are doing it all. We organize discussions with the Helvetas team to drive the change in our country, uh, to help the economy of our country recover. Thank you, dear participants who joined us online and offline. And our Helvetas team will be happy to see you at our next events. We will continue our analytical activities. So we prepare reports on the studies on the profile of people who are unemployed, where we try to look at why people are unemployed, even though there are a lot of vacancies on the market. Also, we will have a revision of the study on the labor market of Ukraine, and also we will want to look at the um, results-based funding and the opportunity of using this approach. So thank you for your attention, and now we invite you to join our networking session.